Hey Cam, what's Darling in the FRANXX?
Okay, so you know Pacific Rim, right? Where two people pilot a mech by like mind melding or whatever. Yeah, it's sort of like that. You basically have these kids who have been raised from birth to essentially do that, like get in pairs and pilot mechs to kill monsters and stuff. It's got a badass opening as well.
But Cam, is it any good though?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot's happened so far, but one of the interesting things about this show is that it kind of has pre-existing relationships in place from the start. So unlike regular stories where relationships build up over time between characters that may not know each other very well, the status quo is fixed. So the progression, I assume, is going to be more like how these relationships change and maybe even break down as the story develops. Of course, the exception to that rule is 02, but that's because she's the catalyst that allows that development to happen.
But Cam, the blokes pilot the robots using controls attached to the girls' bums, and it's all a bit sexual. Do you really think this show will go into that level of depth about the nature of relationships?
I mean, I always have high hopes going into a show, and yeah, to be fair, I am usually disappointed.
My baby boy, you could have done so much.
But I don't think it's wrong to have those hopes. I mean, it's clear from the get-go that relationships is going to be one of the main themes of the show. And it's also clear that things like sexuality and passion are kind of the driving forces to take that to the next level. I mean, just compare the fight scenes from the first episode after Hero and 02 have had that filthy snog. And compare that to episode 2, where it seems a lot more, I don't know, sterile?
平気か？
大丈夫。そのまま続けて。
You have to remember as well that the main cast are predominantly teenagers, and of course sexuality is a near inescapable facet of developing relationships at that time in a person's life. I mean, just one look at my hard drive 10 years ago would prove that point. I think the only difference is that that facet of this show is quite literally being shoved in our faces. The only thing is, they do use a lot of innuendo, which can be quite cringeworthy, and a couple of points have just completely taken me out of the action. But it's nothing that we haven't seen before. And besides, the robots are gorgeous, so I don't care how they're piloted.
But Cam, the robots have people faces! That's weird!
But that's what makes them so good, though. Yes, I know it's a bit of a cartoony thing to do, but it gives them a sense of expressiveness that they wouldn't be able to have otherwise. It also kind of lends to their more unique designs. They're rounder and they're more feminine, kind of like Tauburn from Star Driver. But having that adds like another level to that uniqueness and just makes them a bit more human, even if that is just a reflection of the people piloting it. You don't see it done very often, and I can definitely see why some people would be turned off by it, especially if they prefer their mecha shows to take themselves a bit more seriously. But personally, I really enjoy it. I mean, it reminds me of Gurren Lagann, and that's never a bad thing.
But Cam, why does that pig-head lass with the horns and the boobies like the main character so much? He looks so boring!
I don't know, I don't find Hero all that appealing either. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's just this unrelatable asshole that does nothing but mope around until 02 shows up and starts leading him along by his dick. Like, he doesn't even seem to care when his friend dies, like his old partner, that they didn't seem to get along very well at the end, but these guys were raised from birth. And he's like, Naomi! And then 02 shows up and is just like, hey, you want to get in this robot, kill a monster, and maybe get laid? And he's just immediately like, "Oh, well, yes, of course, it's not like anything important was happening before. I would be delighted to handle your butt flaps." She gets one mention in the following episode, and it's nothing more than, "Oh yeah, did you know that girl was alright?"
Yeah, I know.
And that's it. I hope she comes back later on and gives him a right royal slap round the face. Tit. Not slap him in the tit, just I was calling him a tit. I don't know, it's hard to relate to a character when they're less expressive than a coma patient.
But Cam, can you blame him?
I suppose not. I mean, she is basically every adolescent fantasy I ever had, squidged together and then poured into a burgundy uniform. She's got this whole thing going on where she's like half monster, hence the horns, and because of that, anyone that she partners with can't be with her more than 3 times before they like die, which is an interesting facet and definitely gives her a stronger air of mystery and danger, especially considering she's so frivolous. So I guess that makes her more of like a femme fatale style character, and that definitely makes her more desirable, both to people in the show and people watching the show if Twitter's anything to go by. Of course, Hero's gonna smash that 3-time rule thing because he's the protagonist. With all the pilots, there seems to be this focus on 2 people have to be compatible to be successful in piloting, but I'm wondering if with 02 it's less of that and more of a thing of she can partner with anyone, but if she isn't into you, then she will just slowly kill you. Where obviously with Hero, for whatever reason, she wants him, and that's how they will go beyond that. Go beyond! Oh, wrong anime. In saying that though, I don't know if she's really done enough for me to decide if I actually like her or not. I like the idea of her, but I guess that's the problem with all of the characters at the moment, because it's still so early on. They're all a bit generic and haven't really done anything to break out of their archetypes. So far you've just got the shy one in glasses, the Genki one, the reserved one, the childhood friend, the guy who likes to eat food, the reliable one, and there's the selfish and pompous one, and there's one more.
But Cam, there has to be someone you like the most so far. And you can't say the robots.
Boruto.
But Cam, is it actually any good though?
Well, I mean, the story hasn't really gone anywhere yet, but I definitely think it's in a position where it's about to. The characters aren't really all that developed, and there isn't much to it besides get in the robot, grab ass, and kill monsters. It still managed to hold my attention and keep me interested. I mean, by all means, I'm not like clawing at my desk, desperately waiting for the next episode, but I think you'd definitely be silly not to at least give it a go. And hey, I mean, if all else fails, the mechs are adorable.